Casey Hudecki with Riot Act. And welcome to Kick-Ass Corner. Today, whips.
Let's take a quick look at whips and their history as a tool and a weapon. Whips can be traced back to about 3000 BC in the Chinese and Egyptian cultures, but were probably around even earlier. Any culture that has domesticated animals has some version of the whip. It's commonly used to train animals, herding them and directing them with the sound of the crack, as well as with that staple of negative reinforcement, pain.
Ow! Some have also been designed for inflicting pain on humans. You have probably heard of the cat o' nine tails, for example, or of flogging, a historically common corporal punishment. There are a variety of kinds of whips, but the term mainly applies to two tools, a crop or a horsewhip, and the long, flexible, braided material, usually leather, with a stiff handle. We are focusing today on the latter, the bullwhip, which is the first man-made implement to break the sound barrier. All right, let's break the whip down. First, we have the handle, which on some whips are braided over, and on others are wooden and swivel. Next, we have the thong, which makes up the main portion of the whip and is usually braided in several layers. Near the end of the whip, we have the fall, which takes up most of the wear and tear of the whip, and on a good whip is replaceable for that reason. And finally, attached to the fall, we have the cracker. This little guy here is what disperses the sonic boom. That's right, that crack that we hear is actually the fall moving so quickly it creates a sonic boom.
We have a special treat for you today on Kick-Ass Corner. We're going straight to the source. Whipmaster himself, Anthony DeLongis, joining us all from his ranch in California through the miracles of technology. It's the best I could do. If you don't know Anthony DeLongis, you've been missing out.
Let's get her done.
So, you are a master of many disciplines, yes?
Well, there's... I'm a work in progress. They've been paying me to do it 37 years. I guess I've been studying bladed weapons for about 40.
Can you just break down technically how the whip cracks?
Sure. The science of it is called the acceleration of kinetic energy, which means that because of its tapered shape, the energy from your body is transferred into the whip, and it's kind of like forcing water through an ever smaller hose. So if you have the power of Niagara Falls being forced into a garden hose, that's what comes out the tip.
So, because some people believe that it's, the whip hitting the ground or...
That often happens, but no, not only does it break the sound barrier, it shatters it. The whip has been clocked up to 1,400 feet per second, which is 900 miles an hour. It's an amazing thing. It is the first man-made tool to break the sound barrier, and it is 5,000 years old that we know of.
So, what kind of damage can a whip actually do to a person?
Significant. My wife, we do a live show. I didn't hit her. I've never hit her, and I know better. But it was my partner who is my riding buddy. We're in the middle of a charge, and we each got a flower out of her hand as we gallop past. And I made my cut, and Colin is approaching, and just as he is on his descent, throwing the whip, the horse shies, and by moving slightly sideways, it changed ever so slightly the angle of the tip of the whip, and it hit her in the hand. And she wasn't wearing gloves. She showed me her hand, and it had cut her to the bone, all the way down to the the tendons.
Oh.
And it's extremely powerful against any exposed skin or flesh. It will cut you like a knife. It's going 700 to 900 miles an hour. So it's the velocity of it that does the work.
Though they look long and unpredictable, whips can actually be used with terrifying accuracy. To demonstrate this, let's look at Martin Campbell's 1998 film, The Mask of Zorro, where Anthony Hopkins shows us some whip-wielding precision. Quit it!
We're looking briefly at Anthony Hopkins whipping out candles. Now, you mentioned that you performed that yourself, even behind your back.
That movie was the November Conspiracy, or The Feminine Touch.
So how do you put a candle out? Is that you clipping the wick, or is it the air?
Yes and yes. As you saw when I did More Extreme Marksman, I did the more difficult of the two, which is I actually cut the wick under the flame, but above the candle.
Mm-hmm.
So for just a second, the poor flame was there hanging out in space going, ah! There's two ways to blow out a candle. You either snuff it out with the column of air that the sonic boom creates, which is the way most people do it, or you can extinguish it by touching it. And then I guess the third way is to do what I do, which is you cut the wick. That was pretty cool.
That would be the highest difficulty level.
Please excuse this interruption. The internet is too weak. The tubes, they cannot contain the massive Googleplex of bytes of combat data contained in this episode. So tune in next time for part 2 of our Whipstravaganza, where I talk to Anthony about his work with Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns and Underworld. So tune in then, or perish.